Our lives are formed by stories. Whether you acknowledge it or not, we all have these ideas or myths of who we might be, of who we think we deserve to be, or the stories we're avoiding, or the story we are dreaming of. Our lives are centered around story. But what happens when these stories become the foundation of reality? What if all myths were held together by one truth? What if there's a reason these myths tug at our heart? What if lines like this,
folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going because they were holding on to something. What are we holding on to, Sam? That there's some good in this world, Mr. Ford. And it's worth fighting for.
Sam believed in this truth, and this same truth was the foundation of another friendship, a friendship that would forever change literature. For Tolkien and Lewis loved myths so much that their obsession would help shine a light on this beautiful truth. So before you click away, thinking this is as far-fetched as a man getting bit by a spider and then be able to climb walls, let us ask you something. Why are humans so captivated by these far-out worlds? Is it so crazy to think that myth is closer to reality than we might think? Let us assure you, Lewis had this same thought. Lewis once described feeling so troubled by this idea that he saw his brain divided.
On one side, a many-islanded sea of myth and poetry. On the other, a glib and shallow rationalism. Nearly everything I loved, I believed to be imaginary. Nearly everything I believed to be true, I thought grim and meaningless.
Tolkien was going to help Lewis bring these two hemispheres together. This is the part of the story I love most because of how cosmic, wonderful, and almost magical it feels, as if it had been written by an author who brought Lewis and Tolkien together for this very moment. On the night of September 19th, stretching into the early hours of September 20th, the two men walked and talked, and this conversation was about to merge the two hemispheres of Lewis's mind. And Tolkien was going to reveal this simple truth: that the coming of Christ is the myth that made history, a truth that the story of death and resurrection was not merely a myth, but a truth. And just this one time, myth became reality. And from that, every single story sheds light on the one true story. And that was it. The realization that we are sub-creators, creating reflections of the light of the one true story of Jesus Christ. That simple realization would help inspire these two men to create some of the greatest works of literature ever created. The same truth that created the friendship between Lewis and Tolkien, the same truth that drives our myths, is true. So why have we complicated storytelling so much? Why do we act as though the formula for great stories is incredibly complex when their beauty is found in something much simpler? We have allowed our storytelling to be driven by sales, clicks, and franchises. We'd rather fill kids with mindless dopamine rather than truth. And by doing so, we have weakened the foundation of what all myths lie upon. And that's what we want to help course correct. We're not doing anything revolutionary or groundbreaking. We're simply creating children's stories with a deep understanding of a simple truth that Tolkien and Lewis once made clear. A beautifully crafted story full of death, life, and ultimately hope is true. So when we pick up our pens or sketch our heroes, we do so in the light of our Heavenly Father, with a belief that we are reflecting glimpses of His one true story. That's where the Hallow comes in, a story about a bunch of bugs desperately trying to survive in a desert field with a longing of finding home. We are creating in the legacy of what Tolkien and Lewis's friendship was founded on, with hope of redefining the comic book medium in the light we believe it could shed. But what qualifies us to take on this task? What would a story like this even look like? Well, that's a story for another time.